The demand for group and private events is at an all-time high. Is your business ready to capitalize on all these opportunities? With Restaurant as your booking partner, you can ensure event success this year and beyond.
With no booking fees or commissions, Restaurant has helped over 2,000 restaurants, bars, and breweries reach local event planners who are looking for a space for their next gathering. Whether it's a birthday, anniversary, graduation, or corporate event, Restaurant will get your space booked.
Try it today and receive 3 months completely risk-free by signing up at restaurant.com/podcast. That's restaurant.com/podcast.
Hi, everyone. I'm Claudia Saric.
And I'm Spencer Michiel.
And this is So You Want to Run a Restaurant, created by the team at backofhouse.io, the most trusted resource for restaurant tech. So today on the show, we're joined by Cody Bates, restaurateur, hospitality leader, community advocate, and co-founder of Bates Co., the hospitality group behind Kansas's favorites like the Burger Stand, Taco Zone, Bon Bon, and the very cool art-driven Cider Gallery.
Over the past 17 years, Cody and her husband Simon have grown a single neighborhood restaurant into a portfolio of creative, community-focused concepts.
In addition to her restaurants, Cody is also a board member of the Independent Restaurant Coalition, which we're going to find out a lot about that. That's a really interesting part of this story. And a founding board member of the Lawrence Restaurant Association, where she's fighting for workforce sustainability, independent small business resilience, so many amazing things that she's working towards to create a better industry for everyone in it.
And if that wasn't enough, she's also a James Beard Women's Entrepreneurial Leadership Fellow and Chef Bootcamp alum. She's a total powerhouse.
Amazing. We are very excited to have you on the show with us today, Cody, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
No, it is our pleasure entirely. So let's start at the beginning. It's always a good place to start. When you and Simon opened your first restaurant 17 years ago in Lawrence, Kansas, what was the idea for just one, or were you thinking, large concepts, massive multi-unit all the way through to the end?
I wish I could say that that's what we were thinking.
Yeah.
It was sustainability and we needed a job.
Nice. Okay.
That's a very real answer that I feel like a lot of people might say.
Yeah. I love to say that it just sort of happened. I mean, that's not the full story, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were living in Chicago actually, and had an opportunity. And had an opportunity to move back to Kansas, where we're both from, to run a catering company and be closer to our family. He was working crazy hours in Chicago as a fine dining chef and a large catering company. I was a student / barista and sandwich maker and didn't know what I wanted to do. I was 22. So we were like, let's go back to Kansas and figure it out. So as we got a sublease for our apartment, packing up the moving van, the owner of the catering company called and said that they were going to be shutting the catering company down. And they would pay us for a month to help shut it down. And at that point, obviously, we were moving back. There was no way around it. And so we quickly figured out that we needed to figure out what the next step was. While working and to close that catering company down, of Simon's connection of who anchored us and connected us with that person, helped us hatch a plan to do a gourmet pop-up burger spot until we could figure it out. This was 2009, beginning of 2009. Burgers, like gourmet burgers, were a thing on the coasts and the big cities. They weren't quite as big in Lawrence. And so that was a fun thing for us to bring to Lawrence and back to Kansas. And very little startup. This Irish pub that had a kitchen they weren't using. We scrubbed it and cleaned it. And with about $2,500, we flipped on, the hood. And I had my little cash register I programmed. And we sold 52 burgers the first day.
Nice.
Hey, look at you. That's a lot.
So
you had enough money to pay the electric bill and put a float into the cash register, and well, good. And then you sold 52 burgers first day. That's great.
Yeah, it was pretty. We didn't know what it was going to happen, but that could sustain Simon and I, and we could figure out. And then it grew fast.
People love burgers.
Everybody loves a burger, right?
They love them. You talk to all these restaurants and they're like, my top selling menu item continues to be the burger.
It's hard to beat.
I get it. It's hard to beat.
Yeah. Yeah, that was obviously very smart. I'm sure, even though it hadn't been to Kansas yet, I'm sure people in Lawrence, Kansas were like, We've been waiting for this. Thank you.
Yeah,
Was that the reception, I guess?
it was. I think so. There were some great burger places in town that are still around and just different style than what we were offering. We have half-pound patties. Everything's made from scratch. And we sourced really great buns. Simon's kind of favorite station, as he's the chef of the family, though I know my way around for sure. He His favorite station in any of the places he worked was Saucier. So our sauce bar is really popular. So think really delicious, innovative kind of sauces to go on burgers, on your fries. So it was like a really like niche thing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody was ready for it. We're a college town, so everyone kind of goes downtown. It was one street off at the time, and it was kind of like this quiet thing that people then just word of mouth. I mean, this was before social media got really it was a huge tool. So
Yeah.
we did something right. I think that luck at the beginning, and then, very quickly, so much hard work and so much blood, sweat, and tears to keep it sustainable. So long answer to your question of
That's the
did
perfect
we plan
answer.
it all out?
Yeah.
We didn't. We didn't. We chased it and have been chasing it ever since to some effect. It still is the bread and butter of the entire Bates Co. operation. It really drives a lot of our decisions and is a strong foundation for us.
Yeah. It sounds
love
like
that.
though that probably must have taught you so much. You were in the weeds, you're on the ground, you're building your first concept on your own. When did you decide, hey, this is working. We now want to really double down on this. We want to keep expanding and creating more of these more concepts.
Yeah, we rode the wave really fast. We opened our next concept in tandem with a second burger stand location. It's no longer around, but we opened another concept that was similar to gourmet burgers, but it was a counter service taco shop in a historic spot actually on our main street of downtown. And we did that while also finding another location in Topeka, Kansas, so 30 minutes away where Simon and I were both born. So we had 3 restaurants within the first 2 years of operating and of marriage and
that's a
of
lot.
buying a house and restoring a house. I mean, we were crazy. So
Oh my.
we like really chased the wave. I mean, a lot of it was consumer driven. We also had a lot of staff and people that were really excited for new opportunities kind of after the first 4 months of operating, that we were like, what else can we do? During that time, we also moved into our own space. So we were no longer occupying the Irish pub kitchen. We had a full restaurant with a bar and everything that was ours. So it was a crash course of learning, definitely drinking through the fire hose for the first 3 years. And we've been growing and shrinking and growing and shrinking, ever since, which has been a learning experience in itself. But that strong foundation of investing in ourselves. We don't have any investors. We've never taken on investors or partners. We had partners when we first started, but quickly after about 4 years, bought them out. And it's been a really cool and hard thing to listen to our gut, listen to our customers and our teams, and make mistakes, but also, make a lot of right decisions.
And
It
the hard
sounds
work.
like it.
Putting in the hours and the hard work, like you just said at the beginning. Opportunity often comes knocking as disguised as hard work, I was told at one point. And it's very true. And I think when you come to an area where you're going from, employee to operator, there's so many things you don't know, but it seems like you had a bit of you wore, dozens of hats in the past from kind of HR and payroll and, working in the culinary world. Did that help you? Obviously it did help you, but were there any areas where I never saw that coming?
Surprised how much I know about plumbing. Honestly, I think plumbing and tech systems, our POS, printer, kitchen,
Two go hand in hand,
display,
really.
all
Plumbing
of
and
it,
Texas.
totally, right? It is. I'm really proud that of a lot of these little things that I've just solved on the fly. But I would say I'm really surprised that I know how to plumb as much as I do and can solve tech problems kind of by pushing buttons, but now I know maybe more which buttons to push.
A little bit more, yeah. Nice.
Unplug, replug, hit the on off button. Sometimes I find that that's the best way to go.
It does feel like I feel like a superhero when I can swoop in and just like fix it, because everyone else is like head down working, but also dealing with this problem. And it's my favorite thing is to support our team. And if that support means turning something on and plugging it into a different outlet and it fixes everything, it feels great.
Yeah,
You figure that you
I'm
look like a
sure.
hero.
Yeah.
I learned about gas fitting by almost burning the restaurant down at one point. So that's you
Yeah.
learn the hard way in a lot of these ways.
Cody, wait, you talked a little bit about the staff, and you've obviously, in order for you to run all these concepts, you had to staff them up. And it sounds like it's growing pretty quickly here. And I read that you guys are deeply committed to your community, your staff, some of those practices around there. So talk to us about your ethos around staffing and culture that you've created for your restaurants.
Sure. It's always a work in progress.
Yeah.
Early on, I think because we were in it so much and with our team day to day, we've really set the tone for we're all doing just as much work. So we all need to make sure that we're all distributing that profit, that wealth, whatever it may be, the salaries. And as
That's
we've grown,
wonderful.
yeah, it's not easy. I mean,
No.
as we've grown, we have really tried a lot of different things in terms of making sure that our staff is making a livable wage. And this is something that we started, I would say, really focusing on year 3, year 4.
Mhm.
Nobody's ever made close to minimum wage. Nobody has ever made tipped minimum wage in our establishments. And we've really just had our eye on the pulse on what an aggregated wage looks like we call it a guaranteed wage that we do. And it is a base wage with tips. We did try and do away with tips for a little bit post the reopen of the pandemic, and it helped. I'm really proud of what we did. So
Mhm.
we closed, like everyone. Well, not everyone, but we closed
A lot.
a lot in mid-March 2020. We reopened May 1st,
Mhm.
2020, but we only opened for takeaway and outdoor dining. And we did that. This was at the time at both Burger Stand locations for an entire year. We did that for a lot of different reasons, but when we reopened for probably 3 or 4 years prior to the pandemic, we had been really tracking wages and tips and what everybody was making. So we were
Mhm.
calculating what the tip average was, making sure that we could really keep bumping people up, knowing that tips were a part of our culture. And as much as we wanted to really not rely so much on those, that was the reality then. When we reopened, had a hospitality fee of 15%. So think a service charge. It wasn't a
Yeah.
direct redistribution to our staff, but what it did was we then raised everyone's base wage to above $15 an hour. And that was still
that's
less than
great.
what they were making prior
Yeah.
with the kind of tip combo. And it was really well received by guests, definitely by
Mhm.
staff, but by guests for the first year. Everyone was so excited to be out, and they wanted the dialogue was, we really want to make sure that we're supporting these people in our community
Yeah.
that are feeding us and all the things. It slowly kind of died, the excitement for it died away. I think as we returned to kind of normal cadence of working and being out and about in communities, a lot more fees started going around that weren't related to, wages, but
Mhm.
we become inundated as customers with a lot of different fees. But
Mhm.
we kept that hospitality fee for 3 years. And what that did throughout that time was it gave us more information, more data for us to use, that when we took it away 2 years ago, we did not have to change anybody's wages. We changed our model a little bit, but everybody is making what they were with that base wage being so high or more. And that feels really good, because just because we got rid of that, we did make some menu increases, but that's also related to food costs and other rising costs of business,
Yeah.
right? But I think what it did was it helped create a dialogue with our customers. We really wear our beliefs on our sleeve and make sure that our staff is at the forefront of any of these decisions that we make. And I think we've earned the trust with our staff for sure on making these decisions, and that we'll fix it if it needs to be, if it isn't the right call and all of our predictions aren't really working out. But we've also gained a lot of trust with our guests, which I think is so crucial. And that was early on when, back to us opening a gourmet burger restaurant, when that wasn't really super popular in Lawrence. I mean, we were introducing ingredients that now are just totally mainstream, but that weren't mainstream. So our guests had to trust us to explain what Kobe beef was, American Kobe beef was, what truffle was. And that was a really good like foundation for us. So we built a lot of trust with our guests. And I think that what that has done, that just helped us as we kind of navigated the hospitality fee and our wages and what things are going, where the money is going. We know that it's just so important that we're living that we're actually doing what we're saying we're doing. And like our staff will tell you if we're not. And that's great. I want them to, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask, did the staff prefer the tipping or did they prefer the 15% service charge?
The first year that we had the service charge, the hospitality fee, we did not allow credit card tips because we really wanted our books to be clean, but there were a lot of cash tips. But we also were a very slim staff because we were only open out for takeaway and outdoors. So we were a very minimal staff. But guests and staff were like, people still want to tip. We need to make this happen. And we were like, absolutely. Got it. No problem. We just didn't want to confuse guests, which in the 2 years following, definitely confused guests that there was still the tip option. Again, it just kind of ramped up, not by our own. It was just the way that the things were. But
yeah, the nature of the industry.
Totally.
Yeah.
So as we've moved away from the hospitality fee, we do a tip share model for the front of house and the back of house or at our event space. We distribute all the tips amongst the team. I think that what that does is that really creates that team ethos. So we're all working together to provide the best for our guests and our spaces. Everyone is not paid the same base wage because there's, different positions and
of course. Yeah.
Tenure and performance reviews and whatnot. But, it's not perfect, but we're trying. And the more feedback we get, we kind of evaluate things on a quarterly basis to make sure that our tipping percentage is still really hitting where it needs to. And our goal for this year is to increase wages, all base wages, by at least $1 across the board.
This is a hot issue. I mean, we've been through it before on a previous podcast with another guest about tipping and removing the tipping culture and how difficult that is, especially when you have the threat of losing talent over, I can make more money in tips over at XYZ restaurant, and because I don't have to share them or whatever it might be. But then to the guest of understanding the economics of restaurants and how razor thin the margins are. Yeah. So to explain, like, we don't want you to leave extra money and have this disparity of the wages between the front of house and the back of house. So we're putting a blanket charge on everything and understanding, well, why don't you just, charge what you can and pay your people more? It's like, well, that it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. Like, it is, restaurants make a lot of money, but then they spend almost all of it. And hopefully, I don't know if Lawrence, Kansas is going to change the view of the entire country, but let's hope it does, because I think that's a great plan for what you're doing.
It'd be great. I think customer education is so important because it is really, really hard to navigate all charges and just how the things work. And the hospitality industry in particular is so unique in the way that you pointed to it. I mean, it's estimated that for every dollar that's spent at a small independent restaurant, 85 to 95% on that dollar is going back into the community. And that's huge. And so the impact, and that also means that, the profits are also pretty slim.
They're all very slim.
When we think about the folks that are working in these establishments, I mean, they should be getting a lot of that, right? But we have so many costs that I just don't think that unless you've been in this industry and been the plumber, that then have to call a plumber, they just add up so fast. It's so brutal.
Yeah.
You got to be open
The
every
industry.
day. But you hit on a word there. Yeah, but don't we all? It's good days and bad days like anything else. But I think I left the restaurant industry, and I left the restaurant industry and I came back twice. So it just continues to bring me back. So there's a reason. But I think to get back to your, what we're talking about is what you've built in Kansas, the concepts you have, because you use the word unique, and I think you've got a very unique set of businesses that are part of your group. How do you go from a burger stand to now an art gallery with an event space and then everything in between there?
Great question. Don't know. It just happened. Another just happened. No, we again did not. We've never really looked too far ahead, other than we kind of go back to that model of we want to make sure we're taking care of our staff and our community, and if opportunities happen and come across, maybe we'll pursue it. Taco Zone was an awesome restaurant. That was one of our favorites. and we were great friends with the owners, and they were a little exhausted from this business. And so they approached us about purchasing it from them. So we bought this awesome taco shop that we've transitioned to the catering arm because it already was driven by catering. That's sort of the primary driver of the catering arm of Bates Co. When Bon Bon was a restaurant, a full service restaurant in a neighborhood, it also just really needs to be a private dining catering kitchen that's supplying right next door our fine art gallery. We did not start the Cider Gallery. It started years before us, but we live in the neighborhood and we were operating Bon Bon next door. During all of this, after the first 4 years of Bates Co., I was a little tired of it. And so I thought I would go back to school and finish my degree while also being an owner and operator. And I thought taking 18 credit hours would be a break.
Yeah.
But I went back, not for business.
Just go for your doctorate. Just go all the way.
Totally.
Yeah, do it all, Cody.
Don't tempt me. I love school.
Right?
Well, it'll be 5 years from now. We'll have Dr. Cody, who also has a degree in civil engineering and runs 6 taco zones.
Doctor of restaurants, you mean?
Ooh, that'd be a doctorate of hospitality.
Look at this. We're creating new careers. This is what I'm saying. AI is
This is what I do.
Yeah, careers that we don't even know exist are now going to form. Here we go.
Yeah, I just want to make the things that I want to participate in, right? So I went back for art history and I had a BFA. So I also did art in practice. I was a painter and a textile artist. And so the art gallery just happened again.
I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
I love when I saw the art gallery that you had that's now also an event space and that you cater. And I think it is such a perfect example of the rise of third spaces, the rise of people using mixed use spaces and how restaurants can really capitalize on that. And we're thinking more creatively and outside the box. And obviously your BFA background, how perfectly intertwined is that for all of this? And I loved the idea of Cider Gallery. When I looked at it, I was like, I want to go there.
Yeah, it's great. And to connect all of these dots is not the easiest, but also once you get to know me and you get to know my husband, it makes sense.
I think it makes sense.
It does.
It's, the reason I love food and I love restaurants and I love hospitality business is, it connects everybody. You're eating food together with people or by yourself in some solitude. You're celebrating with food. You're commiserating with each other. You're grieving. Food is a part of every bit, right?
Yes.
And when the pandemic hit, I had this moment of, do I still want to be in this? Everything is taken away from me. You can't come to my space. But that's not true, right? And so when we talk about these alternative ways to enjoy food and drink, the Cider Gallery it showcases local and regional artists. It's an incredible space. And but that also is not a very lucrative business model. So to be an event space is the primary driver. And so it's just so fun. And in the last, we've owned this space for 9 years now, 9 years. And to have grown it and nurtured it because of our background as restaurateurs and our love of hosting people has just been so wonderful. And the team that was here when made the purchase of the business are still mostly our core team now, and it just feels really awesome.
Yeah. What's made it struggle to be lucrative? Because I feel like so many restaurant owners and operators that come on the show, they want to do catering. Catering. You can get massive orders. Is it? Yeah. Is it the art? The art sales. Yeah.
It's just the art sales, which again, we changed the model when we bought it. We helped skew it so the artists were keeping more of the money, because we knew that we could make more of a profit than it had before because we have the opportunity to cater at the space.
And it's a co-working space and all that. So you're renting out the desks and the offices in there as well.
Yeah.
And of course, all that leads back to, people are working, they want to have lunch. And people are coming to the event space to eat, and maybe we can serve something for the art gallery. So everything comes back to how to make profit with the food as well.
Yeah. I think it just is if you're a small independent restaurant owner in it for the money, I want to talk to you because I want to know how you're making a bunch of money, right? But most of us, that's not the main driver. The main driver is doing the art that we love, and that is art on the plate, art in the spaces that we're curating, that you're coming in, the dining rooms that we're making look beautiful.
Sounds like your spaces, you are building real gathering spaces in Lawrence, and it sounds like there's a real intentionality to design spaces that are for community. And so whether it be just a standalone restaurant or the art gallery versus just focusing on, food and service, which I'm not, you got to be focused on food and service as well. But have you noticed though that has affected your community, your customer retention, the traffic flow that you see in your restaurants? Because I would imagine people feel that when they come in to your spaces.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we would be around for 17 plus years if
No
that
way.
wasn't the case. I want to be all in, and that means showing up with some catering that I can just drop off at a small nonprofit event to help them be successful. Really, our visibility within the community, whether it be in our spaces or outside of our spaces, is like so valuable to us from the business aspect of it. And, I'm raising my kids here. This is our town. This is the longest place I've ever lived. Like, this is my hometown. And so to give back is natural for Simon and I. And we also know the impact that it has, the positive impact it has on our businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So on the national stage, I want to talk a little bit about the Independent Restaurant Coalition, because I know that you are on the board of that, which I think is very cool. What's an issue right now that you think independent operators should be talking about or talking very loudly about right now when it comes to this space?
Sure. There's a lot. I think that it's hard for us to talk about our industry and what's affecting it because there's so many issues, right? The Independent Restaurant Coalition started in the early days after kind of everything really became clear.
I remember
COVID.
during COVID, yeah.
Yeah, March. We celebrate actually next week. Next Wednesday is our 6-year anniversary, March 18th, and we're having an anniversary call. And 6 years, it's gone
Where
fast.
Where is time gone? Yeah. And yet it still feels like it was yesterday, but yeah.
It does. It does.
Wow. Yeah, no kidding.
The power of us working nationally together is so impactful. We are so connected to the infrastructure of our communities that anything that we do and advocate for as the IRC will directly positively impact your community if we're able to make it a thing. Last fall, I was able to participate in a fly-in to DC, and the IRC took, I believe, 80 meetings in 2 days with legislators on the Hill, talking about various issues. One of the big ones I talked about was the Credit Card Competition Act. So we know that credit card processing fees are outrageous, and that obviously affects beyond hospitality. It affects everyone. And we're seeing some states allow it to be passed through to the customers, which again rises customers' cost. But what we have right now is a monopoly, and there's little choice for us as restaurant owners to choose who processes our credit cards. And so we're kind of locked into some set rates, and we have little negotiating power. Unless you're a giant chain that has then, of course, like multi-unit, exponential multi-unit.
You've got power to sway and a lot of power to sway.
So that has gained traction again, and we're really excited to see it hopefully moving through a little bit.
Is it Global Payments, I think, has now swallowed up 2 of their competitors. I think WorldPay just got acquired as well. And that, not to name names here on the podcast, I might get people visiting my front door soon for
there goes our sponsorship, Spencer.
Exactly,
I'm just kidding.
But it is, and that is sometimes a number one cost. When you talk about food and labor, that's one. And then right behind that is payment processing costs, because we're moving towards a cashless society and just for pure convenience.
Yeah.
And,
for instance, I'll name numbers because I've talked about it several times.
Please.
The burger stand, just our one location of the Lawrence location in 2025 paid around $112,000 in credit card processing fees.
Yep.
Wow. That doesn't include our POS system rental fees. It does not include any other fees. That is solely credit card processing fees. So when we talk about a major expense, I mean, that's huge, right? That is multiple full-time positions, multiple part-time positions. That we just swallow. We don't pass it along to our guests. I mean,
and it's for everything. If somebody goes and buys a Coke or somebody goes and buys a $50 meal, it all adds up.
It all adds up. And, not only the big processors, but we POS systems that really make sure that it's easy for us to get the orders where they need to go within the restaurant, right? But then also the data that we need to make sure our accounting's right, to make sure all the things are there. And what we see now is so many of these POS systems are the processing. They are the ones that are also.
Absolutely.
So then it further limits our negotiating power and also the transparency for what those fees are going to, because, it's divided a different way. So,
And that's a
big one.
shift, because I was in the POS business. And when I was selling systems, it was, well, what payment processor do you guys work with? Like, anyone you want to
Yeah.
get them competing, because your POS system is an integral piece to your business. You need service around it. The payment processing, it doesn't matter. Like, the service doesn't change whether you go from Chase Payment Tech to Moneris to Global. It doesn't matter. It's really just who's going to get the best rates. It's an absolute race to the bottom around rates. And then things shifted towards POS companies, like, well, because you're going to have a long-term customer. Nobody switches out their POS company every 2 years. It's a major change to switch out your POS in your business. So you're going to have it for a decade, and that's exactly it. And
They know it.
What happened is, what should happen, and this is my advice to anybody, it should be very, very cheap upfront to get your POS system. However, if you have the opportunity to pay more money up front for a lower rate, that will always, always, always save you money.
It's been slowly climbing up there. And when we talk about the impact that IRC has, it's issues like that we can speak really frankly and clearly about. It was really nice to have some opportunities to explain just this, because I don't think most people and even legislators didn't quite understand that we don't have the option to choose a lot of the times of where we go. And so the Credit Card Competition Act will introduce some legislation, some opportunities for competitive bids, that there can't just be one bid for processors. So that's a big one, but I can name 800 more issues.
Yeah.
That's a big one, though. It's a big one.
Yeah. I am the only kind of Central Midwest representative on the board of IRC. So it's really big shoes to fill to manage, but it's really fun to be a smaller market in terms of Lawrence, to be managing these big issues, and also realizing that folks that are operating businesses in LA and Chicago and New York are experiencing the same issues that
it's a national
little
issue.
Lawrence, Kansas is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's so fascinating. What would be the second one that you're like, this is another issue that we need to really focus on right now as the industry, or really rally around?
Of the issues that, while we're not the primary presenter or sponsor of legislation, we've definitely had some input on tariffs and been able to provide some information on how that affects in detail on how that affects our industry, and what it means if it's this percentage, or what it means if even this is applied. And that's been really well received in terms of providing that information.
I bet.
We also work closely with some childcare advocates, so expanding childcare benefits, because the hospitality industry is one of the top employers of single mothers all over the country. And so when we talk about it deeply impacting and single parents in general, when we talk about it impacting our industry, we have so many people affected by that. So it's nice to be able to have a seat at their table and help support.
I love that.
How important it is to have access to affordable childcare. And especially when we talk about the hospitality industry, we don't have regular hours. We don't have 9 to 5. So we need childcare facilities that understand that. But then, how do they afford to pay staff that maybe don't want to work those late night shifts, but we need them. So what incentives can the government help provide to make sure that
that's great.
that there's coverage? And so one of the best things is that we get asked a lot to provide information. We kind of have built a database on who we can call state by state, or just region by region, to make sure that if legislative office is asking for information and data or an anecdote on this, we can really quickly mobilize that. And so they're hearing from our industry, and it's so important. It's been so fruitful too, to just open those pathways of communication. The IRC is the only organization whose sole mission is to advocate for small independent restaurants in the US.
Well, and it sounds like they're doing just that, and they're doing a really good job. These are a wealth of different issues that you're talking about, from the HR perspective to the payment systems to, I mean, it's amazing what they're doing. And you're right, because I think the independents get overlooked a lot and the chains have their own lobbyists, and I understand that. And, they're fighting for other things, but but I think it's great, these issues that you're bringing to the table. And also that, like you said, you're educating these legislators who really don't know because you're in the business and you're there every single day. I don't think a lot of people would realize that this industry employs the most single mothers out of any other industry. That's again, those are some of those facts and statistics that you don't know what you don't know. And so it's nice that you're out there talking about it and really trying to make real change for people and to make people's lives easier.
Yeah, hopefully. Again, if it's just a simple conversation to educate a little bit further on how it affects, it goes a long way. And that's been nice to see that, and not only, okay, so this is a fun plug, is that not only are we one of the largest of single parents, but we also are one of the largest employers, and this is not news, but of immigrants and of returning citizens. So folks that may have been incarcerated and are getting back into the workforce. We also are one of the largest employers of first jobs. We're the first jobs for so many people. So you talk about the spectrum of not just the guests that come into our businesses, but the spectrum of employees and the impacts that we could have on those lives. That's why, tying it back to Bates Co., it's why it's such an important core mission of ours, is to make sure we're tuned in and taking care of our team.
And
it's
you're
nationwide.
Looking at it
from,
there's not a single community in the U.S. and Canada, or really any other country, I'd imagine, that does not have a whole ton of small independent restaurants that are employing young people, single parents, all of these types of situations. And so it's not like this is a New York issue. No, it's not. This is across the board. Every community has small and independent restaurants that are doing exactly the same thing in exactly the same area. So hats off to you guys for taking this, up the hill to, get people to get these politicians
fighting
to
the
turn
good
their
fight.
attention. 100%. Yeah.
Fighting
Again,
the good fight.
More information that I never thought I would now, be reading. And now I know some minor plumbing. Now I know how to write bills. I mean, you name it. I'm a Renaissance
legislators.
Yeah, Renaissance lady.
The winding road of life. We love it. All right. Last question here, and then we'll do a really quick rapid fire round with you. What is the future of the industry? Where are we headed as an industry as a whole?
I think the industry is strong because we're working together more than we ever have. I think it is so volatile still in terms of the effects of every sort of thing you could ever imagine impacting our businesses and our spaces. But I'm so hopeful because I think that open conversations, transparency with staff, open conversations about wages and making sure that our teams are taken care of appropriately and not just bare minimum. And that goes beyond wages, right? That goes to benefits and just general support. This world is hard, and we are in the hospitality business, which means we are the best people to take care of our own people. I think that independent restaurants still matter locally, maybe more than ever now, and that women in this industry are shaping the leadership of it, I think, for the first time. And that doesn't mean we're leaving anybody out, but we are being given platforms. We're being bold and fearless and encouraging and inspiring others to be bold and fearless too.
Yeah. And we need more of that. We need more representation. We need more people fighting for the same group. And I think that's what a great take. Amazing. Okay. So before you go, we have an on the fly round that we do with all of our guests. A few quick questions here.
I need 2 on the fly. What's the hill you're willing to die on when it comes to running restaurants?
Jeez.
You're like, where do I start? Where does the list is endless?
I'm gonna say something controversial, which will be great. The customer's not always right.
Ooh, yep.
I die on that because that means you have to make sure your staff has the right information to provide that customer, that they don't know they're being told they're wrong, but that they also are getting exactly what they need without having to ask for it, because a lot of times they just don't know how to ask for it.
Oh, heck yeah.
Oh my goodness, the customer is often wrong. So often wrong. But they're still the customer, you still got to cater, but don't you're wrong, people.
There's a way to be kind and firm. I am a true believer in that, but it doesn't mean you roll over, so find the balance there. All right, what's something the industry needs to stop doing yesterday?
Being quiet on issues in our communities. How about that?
I like that. That's a great answer. I mean,
I think that customers want to know where they're putting their dollars. I just think you need to be more transparent.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's a good answer.
I like that. What do most people out there, what do they misunderstand about the restaurant business?
That it is skilled labor.
Yes.
Everybody in our business is a skilled laborer that works so hard.
I think that's a great way to wrap up this conversation. I mean, yes, people don't understand. And it's not just about the hard skills of being able to cook in the back, or it's also the communication skills, the soft skills that are, well, I don't even like calling them soft skills anymore, because I think that they really are hard skills that people that sometimes undervalue. But it's like, it's actually really hard to find people that can deal with the public and deal with complaints and do it in a really good way, and in a kind way, an honorable way, and still, maintain decorum, shall we say.
Yeah.
And show up on time.
It's all of it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being on with us, Cody. This was a fabulous conversation. It was so great talking to you today.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So You Want to Run a Restaurant is created by Back of House, produced and hosted by Claudia Saric, with Nick Florick as executive producer. Marketing by Hillary Young and Ashley Dunn. Creative by Manisha Kishenchand. And live production by Sarah Heemstra. And of course me, your co-host, Spencer Michael. For more information, visit backofhouse.io/podcast.